Hi, so I'm joined today by Sebastian Scheele. Sebastian is CEO and co-founder of Kubermatic, and also why we're here today at the MCP Conference, which is the first MCP conference in Europe, right? But it's not going to be the only one because we've got another one planned in Berlin. When's the Berlin one?
The Berlin one is in September, and we just announced that the next one will be in London also in February next year.
Great, so a cadence to bring people together. And this is so important because as we're seeing today, this is a rapidly moving space, right? Every week, new models are coming out with new capabilities, new tools can be plugged in. I imagine the pipeline pieces are all coming about. It's a hugely opportunist space, and the tooling is developing every day. So I can see the need for these extra conferences. But what caused the initial, idea of bringing this in?
I mean, the initial idea was coming from, as we're in the cloud and container ecosystem, I was asking myself, how do I get the real data out of Kubernetes? Because this you're typically not having in the LLMs. And so somewhere there needs to be a connection way. And I saw MCP and was looking into this, and we started experimenting with it. And then I said, hey, where are all the people here in Europe who are doing this? And so we came up with the idea, let's do a conference to bring the community together to exchange, because especially at the beginning, but also later, but especially at the beginning, I think it's really good to know who is really using this so that you can start exchanging and that you have places to go where you can go and talk with people and say, hey, what are the challenges you are facing? What are the ideas? And because not everything is yet written in the internet, and so getting really all these ideas from people, and that was the beginning of why we said, okay, let's start this conference.
Yeah, because it's a very frank discussion going on. So we're not just talking about what we can do today. It's what's the opportunity, and then what are the challenges, right? Who are the people who can put together some of the security aspects that need development, and the automation pieces and the guardrails, all these things need development to pull it out of what is a beginning state, right? We're at the beginning state with this, and we want to ultimately move it into something that's for enterprise. And that needs a lot of teamwork, collaboration, and you're from the open source space. You're, of course, a board member on the CNCF, and Kubermatic is a Kubernetes company. Other things in there as well, global load balancing, developer platforms, and so on. But what is a Kubernetes company doing hosting an AI event?
I mean, we are just a sponsor, but why it is interesting for us is from two perspectives. On the one side, if you're looking into how the majority of AI workload is running, it's running container-based on Kubernetes. So we see a lot of adoption of containers and AI workload running on a Kubernetes platform, but also on the other side, we hear every time Kubernetes is too complex and so on and so on, especially if you are a not so infrastructure or developer who's close to Kubernetes. So I think their AI and LLMs can really help to make this abstraction layer, but you still need to, when I want to see how many pods or whatever I'm running, I still need to connect this together, and I think their MCP can come into the picture and say, hey, how do we glue this stuff together? So on the one side, it's running the workload, and as we all know, typically this AI workload is a massive workload which needs to be run. But on the other side is also how AI and MCP can really help and enable more people to use container technologies.
Yeah, so we've got this huge resource that sits in people's data centers, and it's about putting that to work, and then the flexibility to move those workloads around. I mean, I was talking to one client in the financial space today, and they've got models that are so big they won't fit on a single host, right? And they've got some big hosts. So there's a lot that's being developed, and I can see that Kubernetes, although you may not see it in this app space, is sitting underneath it all, and we're working at Kubermatic to make it so that's easier to run, and there's stuff in the pipeline around AI, I understand, as well.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many workloads and which needs to be run, and there the question is like, also this workload has complete new challenges for the container space. I mean, it still needs a scheduler and so on, but it starts already. You need, in a lot of cases, well, not you need, but it performs better if you're using GPUs. So how can you attach the GPUs to your containers? But also, how can you partitioning your GPUs so that not only one container can consume it, that multiple containers can consume it. And so there's a lot of stuff how what needs to be adapted and changed and optimized because it's a complete new workload on Kubernetes, where potentially also new concepts needs to be developed to make it even more efficient and more scalable for this kind of workloads.
Yeah, the idea of GPU harvesting's echoing around as well, right? How do we make these expensive assets be valuable? And then how do you give them interesting work to do? How do you keep things going into that hopper of work that generative AI contribute to? So many interesting discussions happening at the event, because it's not just MCP, it's model-to-model, agent-to-agent communications as well, and then some of those challenges for keeping the infrastructure underneath it, which is, of course, somewhere Kubermatic can come in and help with. So it's been a fascinating conference. We're about halfway through, so we'll be getting back to some sessions, but appreciate you talking to us.
Yeah, thank you, and really looking forward for the rest of the conference.
Yeah, great stuff.